My name is Willy Minnix. I am the author of the Mandolin Dead Man's Tuning series of books, and today I want to talk about something that I don't think I've really covered before on my channel, but I believe is something that's very important in my personal teaching business for my students. A lot of my students are multi-instrumentalists, and they start off coming to me maybe wanting to learn how to sing, or maybe they want to learn how to play the piano or guitar or something. And then they progress and they end up taking other instruments on. And so a lot of times, say somebody comes to me for singing lessons and they say, well, I want to learn how to accompany myself. So after a while, when they get their range and their breath control and all that down, then they move on to the piano. And they start learning how to do, you know, some good piano backing for their singing. And then they say, you know, I'm ready to make a demo, but I want to know how to play the guitar on it. So then they progress to the guitar. I have one student's got 6 or 7 instruments that she started since coming to take guitar lessons from me. And so you can develop your sense of musicality by learning new instruments. And every time you learn a new instrument, what I have found is that instrument will be a lot easier than the previous instrument, and it will also teach you things about your previous instrument that you didn't quite get when you were playing the other instruments. So let me give you an example in my own life. I started playing the guitar and the piano when I was really young, and I kind of developed a really strong sense of chord theory and how chords worked. But it wasn't until much later when I started playing the mandolin that I really started to get a good understanding of how melody worked. So certain instruments will teach you different things that you may not necessarily learn on your first instrument, and that's okay. I want to give you kind of 3 areas where I think you can develop as a musician by learning other instruments and becoming a multi-instrumentalist. Now, the first area that I think everybody really should develop, and a lot of little kids develop this area without even knowing it, and then as they grow, they become a better musician, and people say, oh, you just have a natural sense of rhythm. I don't know if people are naturally born with a great sense of rhythm or if it's something that they develop, but I do know that people who don't have a great sense of rhythm can develop their sense of rhythm to be better. So one of the things that helps with that is starting out with a basic drum. Get yourself like a bowron or a little hand drum or a tambourine, and practice with a metronome, keeping your timing right. When you think you have your timing down, then the way to test that is to put a song on that you're pretty familiar with and record yourself playing along with that song. When you listen back to it, you're going to be able to hear whether you actually are in rhythm or not. And if you're not, then you go back to the metronome and you keep working that way. Now, another thing that you can do to help develop your rhythm is when you start recording demos, you're going to hear, oh man, my rhythm is really off there. Or have a friend point it out to you and say, you're not syncing up with the drum track. Now, the next thing you can do is start playing with a loop pedal. If you want to go get a loop pedal, loop pedals have gotten to be really inexpensive these days, and you can get a cheap one off of eBay to start practicing with, and you can practice with that loop pedal until you feel like, okay, I'm starting to get a hang of it, and I think my rhythm is actually really solid now. So that's rhythm. Now, the second tier of what I think of as musicianship that applies to multi-instrumentalism is basically learning all of your chords. Now, do you have to learn every single possible chord that's out there? No, because there are a lot of them. That's why I say basically learning all your chords, because the basic 12 major chords are the starting block of every other chord that's out there. Then you want to go in and learn all your minor chords, and then every other chord is really just a variation of it. Even when you get into those really hard jazz chords like the 11ths and the 13ths and things like that, those are all just variations of your basic major chord or basic minor chord. And so when you learn those, then you'll have a really good understanding of how to start learning your chord progressions. So if I were going to split the chord section into 2 parts, I would say the first part is learn the basic chords. The second part is learn the chord progressions that make up a big chunk of all the songs that are out there. Does every song follow a stock chord progression? No. But a lot of songs follow, to some extent, stock chord progressions. And some of the famous ones, like everybody learns the oldies progression, and that's where you have, like, say a G to an E minor, C to a D. And once you learn your chords on one instrument, then it's really not that hard to turn around and learn your chords on another instrument. G, E minor, C, D. And when you've learned how to play the basics of that, then you can start learning how to decorate those chords with arpeggios or different licks that, you know, people use, or different things like that will liven up those chords and make them sound a lot better. And then you can go on to learning other progressions, like another popular one is the pop progression, where it goes from the first chord, which in this case would be a G, to the fifth chord, which in this case is a D, to a minor 6 or an E minor, to the C. And there are so many songs out there that follow that progression. You can build a whole career off of just those two chord progressions if you wanted to, and perform for your neighbors and your town and county and all this kind of stuff, and get yourself a start just knowing those progressions in really one or two keys, and you'll get pretty far. But if you want to develop that, well, then you kind of have to go on to what I think of as the next step. And really, it's kind of could be split into two parts too. It's the melody step. So the melody is understanding how the tune of the song actually goes, and that could be anything from being able to actually play the melody of the song while you're playing the chords, so that you end up having kind of that the Christmas guy at the mall that plays the piano sound, where you know, at the department store, or a lounge player, and where you hear those chords, but you also hear the melody kind of in with it. Or you may be more focused on, you're a singer or you're in a band with a singer, so you're not going to play the melody, but you need to know how to play the solo. So sometimes the solo could be things like that, you know, or it could be the little licks that you throw in between. And those types of melodic movements, where you're going from one melody to another, are really important to learn. Now, part two of the melody aspect, I would say, would be harmony. And you know, a purist, you know, if you were in school taking music theory, you wouldn't consider harmony as part of the melody. But if you're a harmony singer, the harmony part that you sing, you have to learn it like it's a separate melody. So I'm going to go ahead and include that as part of the melody aspect. And certain instruments promote harmonic concepts better than other instruments. You're going to learn harmony a lot more on the piano than you would on, say, the tin whistle. So like if you were going to play, you know, I play Scarborough Fair. You're not going to learn the harmony part by playing the melody on here. Now, if you happen to be playing with another person who plays the tin whistle, and you want to learn the harmony part to go along with it, well, then you're going to learn it. But in and of itself, that instrument is not going to teach you a whole lot about it. But singing, if you learn to sing harmony, if you learn to play harmonic passages on your guitar, if you learn to play harmony on the piano, all of those things are going to promote and help you with harmony. So that's pretty much how I break down all music, and you can take each one of these three concepts and you can apply it to whatever instrument you're on, and it will help you solidify the learning of that instrument, and that particular technique or that particular aspect of music will come to the surface as you study that instrument more. So that's kind of just a quick overview of my philosophy and my thoughts on multi-instrumentalism. It's a big word you can impress people with, but that's kind of my take on it. So I hope you have a wonderful day. God bless, and we'll see you in another video.